Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Sugar Mama's Fireplay, the podcast that ignites your financial journey with inspiring stories and innovative strategies. I am your host, financial planner Canna Campbell, and today this is a Start Here series where we have frank, open, and honest discussions about what's going on and how and where to simply get started so that you are well and truly on track to see your financial goals and dreams finally flourish. Now, as always, I must do my general advice warning and, of course, let you know that my financial planning license details are in the podcast notes. The reason why I say this to you in particular for these Start Here series is you must use all of my content as an educational guide only. Never am I giving you personal advice, product advice, or investment advice. Use this so that you understand exactly where you need to go, learn more of, and maybe even get personal advice from a financial planner when you are ready to roll with your financial journey. All right, let us begin. So this morning's episode is a bit of a special one. We're in for a treat. Instead of me normally reading your DMs, we actually have someone here with us right now. So you're going to be listening to our chat, our conversation. Now, Brydie is 30 years old. She's gone through a lot, and I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to really relate to what she has gone through and where she is right now and what she wants to achieve. So with great honor, I introduce to you Brydie for our series Start Here. Brydie, thank you so much for coming in. Can you explain to me where you're at right now and what's going on and why you would like me to, give you some general guidance as to where to get started?
Well, for one, we're sitting in a beautiful home. It's a testament to how you've built your dream, which is already why I want to talk to you, why I want your help.
Yeah.
Is I would like to even create a financial dream. I'm kind of scared of the housing stuff. I'm single. I'm not thinking about buying a property. I want to live a fun, full, exciting life. I'm 30.
You don't be tied down. You just want to have complete flexibility. Yep. You want the luxury of choice.
I want to enjoy my life, because I work hard and I want happiness, but I feel really scared when I look at, okay, these houses are costing this much and this is how much you need to live off and got to create a career that brings in home this much. And I'm just trying to...
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, I feel like I would never get there. That's a belief thing I know that I have that is maybe something I need to work on too, but it's completely overwhelming. And so I've actually buried my head in the sand. I've never saved. Oops.
That's okay.
Let's talk about it. I've never saved.
I'm not here to judge.
Yeah, there's a lot we could unpack in terms of mistakes.
Well, why don't we unpack those mistakes so that we can deal with them properly, nip them in the bud, and process them and digest them and maybe dissect them so that we can then clear the path for goodness and for abundance and prosperity.
Yes.
So, and you touched on mindset. Mindset is everything. If you go into a financial journey thinking this is hard, it's confusing, overwhelming, that mindset is going to show in the results and there won't be much results. But if you go in going, okay, well, I'm going to break this down. Yes, it might be at times a little bit challenging and confusing, but I can do this and I'll reach out for help and get people to explain things when I get stuck and I won't do anything until I'm 100% sure. Suddenly your energy starts to shift and you start to realize actually it's maybe not as bad as we think it is. So let's unpack.
But it's bad.
Okay, I don't mind. It's not bad. I've been a financial planner for over 20 years. I have seen everything and heard everything. And the other day I was doing a keynote piece for PwC for their staff on financial wellness. And someone asked me a question about what I'd seen. And look, I've seen someone with $360,000 in credit card debt.
It made me feel better. That made me feel better about what I knew I had to tell you.
You know what? Unless someone comes to you with more credit card debt than that, and that person continued to bury their head in the sand, but that's not the point. It doesn't matter about your history. You really need to be kind and compassionate about that. What matters is what you're doing going forward and understanding that you have a choice and the choice is right here, right now in front of you to step up. You arm yourself with financial education and don't try and do it all at the same time.
Yeah.
Don't try and master a budget overnight. That's not going to happen.
True.
It takes practice, and it's like training, exercise. Like you can't just go for a run and be fit.
Yeah.
You have to go for a run 3-4
Yeah.
times a week, and you have to try and run faster or run further, and then you need to...
And you start with like 1 minute.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you
Yeah.
might do some weights in there because you're focusing on your cardio and you need some strength training or some flexibility or do some yoga in there. So it's not overnight. It's a
Right.
journey. And then you'll have a setback where you might binge on a weekend.
Yeah.
Or maybe you get injured and you can't exercise, so you lose some fitness. It's the same with money. It's never magical and overnight. And if it is, that's a red flag. Something is not sustainable and it's only a quick fix or a Band-Aid. All right, that's enough of my TED Talk. I want to hear about you.
Yeah.
What's been going on in the past and where are you at right now?
Well, I think the thing that is the hardest is like the present still has remnants of the mistake of the past. So I was given an inheritance when my grandfather died when I was in like year 12 and it was 110,000
Okay.
and there's 10,000 left.
Okay.
Told you were going to fall off your chair.
Okay, I not at all. I've got a lot to say about this, so please keep going.
I don't even know what a 20-year-old spends there. Like, I can't even tell you, but I'm not going to rag on my parents because, like, they were doing their best, but I didn't have any tools. So my brothers and I got the same amount of older brother and a young brother, and they both have houses in Sydney.
They use that money to buy a property.
Yeah, they're both in... The other complication of my story, I feel like, is that they're both in a lot more of sort of a set path with their career. I've had a bit more of like a PC journey I've really not known. And I probably still don't fully know what I'm meant to be doing with my full-time work.
Mm-hmm.
I love what I do currently, but I know that I don't have like Bridie's going to be a banker or I'm a professional dancer. So this is like roughly how much I'm going to be making.
You don't feel like you've got your career path necessarily mapped out. Is it more
At all. Yeah.
But why should we?
It feels like really embarrassing to just be 30 and be like, I have 3 jobs. And people are shocked when they find out how old I am, which is super flattering. But like a lot of my friends are like 21 studying psychology. Like it's just, they've got this bow on that.
They seem to have it all sorted and you feel like you're just treading water or keeping your head above water.
Yeah, and in a way, I know that part of how, because I've got 3 part-time jobs, which I really enjoy all of them. It's not one cohesive picture. If you ask me what I do, it doesn't really say. I don't have an answer for people when they ask me that.
Well,
Yeah.
I've got so much to say about, first of all, about the 3 jobs. To me, there is no shame in that. And you're thinking about it the wrong way. You're thinking that you're a bit of a joke, maybe you're a bit of a mess, and that you've got 3 different jobs.
That's exactly how I feel.
But I don't think that you're a freelancer. You pick and choose your contracts as to who you want to work for and when and on what terms and on how much. And to me, you actually have complete control and flexibility in your life. And I think that sounds liberating. I don't think there's any shame in that. And this is the age that we work in now, is a lot of people are moving away from being on this one employer level. You know,
I feel like I'm like the lab rat for that kind of thinking, and like it's always been that for me. Like I never thought about uni in high school, and even last year I tried to force myself into choosing a career of occupational therapy, and I got to signing the dotted line of applying for uni, and I realized I am so bored at the thought of that.
I'm glad you
I'm
realized
glad
that
I didn't
then.
do it. And I called my mom and I was expecting her to be like, oh, Brydie. But she was so empowering and she was just like, I'm really proud of you for being honest with yourself. And I'm like, really? Because I'm 30 and don't you just want me to like know? And
I think what you're doing is great. Like I would be proud of you. I think you're being authentic. You're being real to who you are. You know where your boundaries are and what works for you and what doesn't. And you're not going to prescribe to this herd mentality of go to school, go to university or some sort of tertiary qualification,
which
and
I
take
would
a career
fail at.
path and stick to that for the rest of your life. That to me sounds boring as bad shit.
Yeah, it does.
And if you look at any entrepreneur that has achieved something, so many of them have actually found their calling later in life, in their 40s, 50s,
so
60s and
isn't
70s. I think, don't quote me on this, but if you look up the story of Colonel Sanders, I think it is, who invented KFC, I think it was maybe in his 60s when he came up with the ingredients for Kentucky Fried Chicken. And there's hundreds of these stories. I probably should have known about this and had some stats on me for this recording, but obviously we're just free-flowing
I'm thinking
here.
of the things you see on Instagram of like Oprah, 40, Steve Carell, 50.
Yeah, there's so many stories like that. Who is the woman who is amazing? She used to actually be a stockbroker working in finance and
Really?
is now like kind of the housewife guru, which works for Oprah. The name will come to me in a second, but she's a self-made multimillionaire that hated her job in finance, was a stockbroker in New York, was actually quite successful, but her passion was actually decorating and designing homewares and setting homes up to be efficient and welcoming and, you know, how to get stains out of things. She's like a go-to guru with those sorts of things. And she's sold books and courses and amazing story.
Yeah.
So don't flick people's judgment. It's the other thing I want to say about the money stuff and the inheritance. There is a lot to say for people who put inheritances in trust for adult children and only to be released once they become ready.
I think we had spoken about that.
Yeah. I mean, you were very young.
Really?
I would have blown that money,
I
even
blew it.
entering in, you know, even being an investor at that age.
But 90,000. I'm not talking like $200. I think also like where I might have a bit of a poverty mentality was when you don't grow up with a ton of money and you get some, and no shade to my parents, but I think the thinking that I naturally just had in me was like, this is your one shot. Almost like I wasn't even deserving to have this. I didn't earn it. So I was given this like thing of like, holy crap. It was every time there was spending, there was such deep guilt because it was like, I'll spend, but this is my one shot. This is my one shot. So I remember like those purchases just flying through my card, and I just felt even like it pushed me further and further down into like basically what was a secret. I didn't tell my parents that I was spending it at the rate that I was. And I think with spending, like, you really think your appetite is going to be satiated. Like, you think it's like food, like, I'll have a burger and I'll have chips and then I'm done. Like, I'll buy that designer coat and then I'm good. I've got one winter coat. I even tried to, like, buy a capsule wardrobe, but it just kept going. Like, I kept buying. And
a bottomless pit.
a lot of the clothes that I bought, like, I went on the Real and I didn't even keep them because they're not even good purchases. So I was just spending.
Okay, so an element of self-worth, or a complete lack of self-worth, I would say, and then almost a self-destruction mode.
Yeah.
To almost get rid of the money because you weren't worthy of it, so you almost had to wash yourself off.
It was like washing it away. It was just, and some of the purchases were truly justified, like bought a water filter, like things that I like actually still have, but I know a lot of it was just luxurious living. I'd be like, I'll go get a massage because I'm stressed, or like, I'll go get my nails done because I've got this thing. There was always this running conversation in my mind of justification of why I was spending the money. And I remember my friends would be like, how do you have the money for that?
Yeah.
And I feel like I had this dirty secret that I was like hiding. It was bad. And ASOS bags just turned up at the house every day.
Wow. I don't say wow to judge. I'm saying, like, I have so many girlfriends. I've never inherited money, so I don't know what it's like, but I have girlfriends who've done very, very similar things.
Right.
So you're not alone.
With inheritance?
Yes, absolutely. Inheritance from grandparents, and they've lied to their parents about where that money has gone.
Oh my goodness.
And they're actually
like a
drowning
Inheritance
in debt.
Anonymous.
But also, it's a lack of financial literacy, and some of those girlfriends, as I said, are just drowning in debt still today after receiving that money because it put them on a lifestyle creep where they had to keep up with it, the spending. And then, all the inheritance burnt out, but then they still had this champagne taste, but no champagne money to pay for it anymore. So it continued on and then ended up in debt. So I'm not judging at all. My heart actually goes out to you. And the other thing I'll say is anything we hear from our parents or our partners, we get defensive because we don't like hearing from those people. If I had met you or someone who was neutral and not connected to your parents in any way and said something to you, you're more likely to take it on board than you are hearing it from a parent or a partner. Like Tom will say something to me like, oh, Canna, we should really paint that blue. And I'm like, no, we are so not painting that blue. And then if a friend will pop over or you pop over, someone comes over and goes, hey, Canna, you should paint that wall blue. I'm like, oh my God, what a cool idea. I hadn't thought of that.
With my family.
Hey, Tom, we should totally paint this wall. And Tom goes mental. It's the same thing. It's we don't want to hear advice from our partners sometimes or our parents.
They're kind of a reminder of like the yuckiness that I experienced as a kid with money. So even being in that space, I didn't want to like open up.
Of course. And it's also money that's come out of a loss and grief.
True.
And grief is very complicated as
Yeah.
well.
And to add to that, like the one shot sort of like, you could get the house with this, or you could, like,
The
you need
pressure.
to save that. Oh, the pressure was probably the thing that I can remember feeling the most. I still feel a little bit of it. I've still got some of it left. So like,
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in a second
yeah.
because we want to work out where you should get started to get back on track and make up for lost time. But I mean, what you were saying is not uncommon at all. And at different levels of severity and different situations, you are not alone. My heart really goes out to you because the pressure on someone so young with no understanding about money and how money is built, how money is protected, how money needs to be used in a sensible, wise, intelligent way can therefore be sustainable, and you can actually leverage further off that beautiful financial blessing. It would have actually been really quite horrible.
Yeah.
And I would almost,
get that.
if I was in your situation, I almost would have almost like a detest of money, because it would just be a reminder of the past.
Yeah, the resistance I have towards budgeting, I just shut down. Like when my friends are talking about money, I feel so much anxiety. Like they're talking about this holiday and I just
freeze.
Yeah, because I feel like I blew it. I don't know what I could have, but it feels a bit like damned if I do, damned if I don't, because there was actually a guy that my friend's dad who I opened up to about all this, and he was like, right, lock that money away, you're buying a property. And I just never did anything with the advice. I was scared to lose that little backup, but scared to not do anything as well. So I froze. And that freezing meant that money just sat there and I just kept picking away over the years. So I had access to it for 11 years now. So.
Okay. Tell me what you did with the money, and we'll move on then to what the solutions, because I don't want to we need to acknowledge the past, but we also need to make peace with the past, so we can make the space for prosperity. So where did this money go? Like, what did you do? Did you travel?
I did. I lived in Mexico for 2 years.
Wow.
I did volunteering, so I actually had to pay to live.
Wow.
And that was honestly so fulfilling. Like,
I bet.
I know.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I just had high school was really tough. There was stuff going on in my family. I had an awful breakup and I wanted to get out of Sydney. I had like a bit of a spiritual awakening, and I met some people who were doing like volunteer programs, this program that runs around the world, and you can basically go pay to live at a location, anyone that you choose. They have bases in basically all countries, and just to like serve the local area. So I went to Tijuana, Mexico, where we were feeding the homeless. We were looking after the girls that worked in the red light district as young as 5 years old, seeing like young girls get sold. It was quite dangerous at times.
Wow.
We were doing little day courses, daycare for the kids of the people who worked in the red light district. So the pimps would like come and drop their kids off to our daycare. You're just like talking to Tijuana's biggest like drug cartel guys, and they're coming and giving like little Juan to me for the day. And we're like, playing skipping and doing Bible stories and building homes for families that didn't have them. So like, it was obviously, you think I'm a saint. I did that. It was a beautiful decision. I'm really glad I made that decision. I was running away from pain from my like family and from a breakup. So I came back from Mexico after that, just under 2 years, and pain wasn't gone. So I also just like moved to Byron for 2 years. So I went and just lived with my friends in Byron. It was stunning, beautiful. And then I got back from Byron, still didn't want to be confined to Sydney. So I went and lived in Darwin, and I did a bit of volunteer work up there as well. And I was a makeup artist at the time, so I was working on like the ABC News, and that was really fun. And then like I lived in Brisbane for a bit because I just didn't care to come back to Sydney and get into a 9-to-5. I knew that like sort of boring future was awaiting me, and I was just like, no, I'm just gonna wriggle about. Then I went to Brisbane. When COVID happened, I took off to Byron again, as most of us did. So I fit in a trip to Scandinavia. I spent money, went to America on that money, went to Scandinavia on that money, and haven't done any overseas travel since before COVID. So there's a lot in there, but they're the main sort of
Okay, so
travel.
I don't think you wasted the money at all. I think you invested the money in yourself.
Wow.
Coming
from you, I like, because so many friends have said that to me, but like coming from you If you really think that 90 grand is not wasted on me just being like, I want to live in Darwin now. Okay, maybe I can let this go.
I'm actually really inspired by your free spirit and your get up and go. And even a teeny tiny bit jealous because one of my biggest regrets is actually not going and living overseas after I finished university. And I've got a life ahead of me. I know that maybe that will come later on in life. And I, just like various different successes come in later in life. So, but no, I don't think you wasted anything at all. I think you've actually invested the money in yourself and in finding and going on a self-discovery journey, which is so valuable. And as we get older, we've got bigger responsibilities, children, mortgages, expenses, the lifestyle creep. To be able to do those things is not actually possible. So you've done it the smart way. You've done all those things now.
Yes, and it was very strategic.
And I have to say, all that travel for so many years off $90,000, I'd actually say you're probably quite good with money. Like some people would have blown that within a year. You made that money really last and take you to so many different destinations.
Yeah.
And immerse yourself into so many important cultures and seeing firsthand the reality of how our world operates and how dangerous it is and how lucky we are and what the things that we need to be aware of and grateful for and how we can use that, even just hearing, I mean, I didn't know anything about
the 10-year story of like what was your life
even your experience of going to Mexico and helping and learning about the red light district and children, like, I mean, it makes me feel sick to my stomach. You can actually use that to your financial advantage and use that as an element of motivation to help you want to get back on track.
Oh my gosh, my dream would be to, like, whether single or with a family, like, would be to, for a portion of the year, be at a month. You do need to be there a little longer than a month, though, for it to not feel like you're a volunteer tourist. But yeah, like, I'd love to go for like a 3-month stint. Like, that's a dream every year to invest. And so I actually got that idea from a family that I met over in Mexico that did that, and it really inspired me. And the kids grew up from, being a baby to, like, learning how to speak Spanish, and all they knew was giving and serving the Mexican people.
How much would you need
to do that?
To do that each year? If you said, okay, I want to spend 3 months a year living in Mexico helping these families.
Gosh. Even the thought of it makes me so, like, my heart gets butterflies. I don't even know how much my groceries cost.
Okay, if I put $30,000 in your bank account before you jumped on the plane or before you booked an airfare, would that be enough for you to take 3 months off away from your life to survive and do that every single year?
30 grand. I assume so. Like, I know that you pay a fee to work and live there, and I would probably buy my own food and stuff like that. So $30,000 for 3 months sounds like more than I'd need.
Okay. So what if I told you if you wanted to, you could get started today in building up a passive income stream of $30,000 a year? Will take a while. It's going to be not saving. It's about investing and building up an investment portfolio that pays you $30,000 once a year as a lump sum, or maybe split up over 2 payments in 1 year, say $15,000 each. And that was your money for Mexico.
Oh my gosh. I'm smiling.
Okay. Well, this is something you can do. I know from our previous conversations, you're someone who's very interested in investing, and you've said you would love to have an investment portfolio, but you don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So this is where you need to get started.
Okay.
All right. First of all is you've got to spend some time forgiving yourself, and hopefully even our conversation alone.
Yeah, no, it does. I already feel lighter.
And I don't even think you need to forgive yourself for anything. You've invested in yourself, and I think what you've done is admirable and liberating and connected to your spirit and what it needs and wants, which is so important. You're not following a herd mentality. So first of all, we've got to do some work on that mindset, and I want you to write down all the things that you are grateful for from doing that 4 or 5 years of spending that money. Write them down. And write them down in a journal so you can reread them whenever you need to.
Yeah.
Next is to start looking at some goals and write down those goals. Right. So write down the goal of a passive income of $30,000 a year. I want you to also write down the goal of doing a budget.
Yeah, and that's 100% a goal.
I will sit down with you and I'll show you how to do a budget and how to build a cash flow system that matches your budget.
Okay.
So that you don't get into credit card debt along the way, you don't run out of money before your end of the pay cycle, and you can, best of all, start building up some savings and start a regular investment plan. So mindset, goals, and writing those goals down and having, you know,
First.
in that list of goals, have some goals for an amount of emergency money,
Mm-hmm.
which I'll come to in a second.
Yeah.
Then I want you to do a budget.
Yeah.
Now, from your budget, what I want you to do is work out how much you can afford to save on a regular basis.
Okay.
Okay. With that savings first, and I'm going to assume that you don't have any credit card debt here,
Yeah.
but, you know, I want you to just then use that savings after you've done your budget and proactively put it into a savings account, an online savings account, ideally with high interest, no fees.
Okay.
You may already have one.
No.
But it must be away from your everyday, your everyday spending account. We want to remove temptation.
There's one account.
Okay, you have one account. I kind of like that. It's very simple, but you do need a second account. An online savings account can be great because it gives you that flexibility.
Yeah.
There's, you know, no fees and you get a bonus interest often if you're putting a certain amount every month. Now, you would nickname that account my emergency money. It is really important that you always have emergency money.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how rich or how poor you are, you need emergency money.
And I don't have a full-time job. So,
exactly. So you don't have
protection.
You don't have, you know, sick leave or annual leave or anything like that. So it's really important to you. And you need to work out what is the right amount of emergency money. So there's no magical formula. And for you, we need to sit down and look at your situation and go, okay, well, what are your expenses like? What is your situation in life like? What safety nets have you already got in place? What insurance policies do you have? And then we'll sit down and work out how much you need. But realistically, it's going to be a decent 5-figure amount of emergency money that you need.
Okay.
I don't want to throw numbers out there, but it's going to be something north of $15,000.
Okay. Yeah.
So we need to start building that up as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Then, in the meantime, whilst we're saving that, we need to go down an educational path, learning about money and learning about investing.
Okay.
And we're going to start building up a passive income stream. So whilst you're saving up, let's call it $15,000 emergency money for simplicity, but that's not the number. I want you to learn about investing, and I want you to, so that you're saving at the same time, but you're not wasting time. You're using your time efficiently.
Yeah.
So you're saving your heart out.
Yeah.
You're regularly putting money into that savings account. And I should point out, I recommend you put that money in. So say, for example, you know, you can save $1,000 a month after doing a budget or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
The moment you get paid, and I know you do get paid in various different ways, try and put some of that money into that savings account so you get it out of your account away into that emergency account. So it's taken out before you get the opportunity to spend it.
Okay.
So you really
That's
prioritize
the first
it.
priority.
Yeah, first priority.
And it is like, I connect with that because I'm like, if something happened.
It's the money that lets you sleep well at night. And that is, as I said, it's not to be invested. Investing is really for the long term. And when I say long term, I'm talking 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Okay.
So you always need to think, okay, this money that I'm going to go and invest, I never want it back. I'm putting it away forever because it's going to pay me back. It's going to pay me back a little bit each year without the capital eroding away. So, yes. Okay. So once you've hit that $15,000, I want you then to replace that savings plan, whether it be $200 a month, $500 a month, whatever it may be.
Whatever I'm already saving.
Yeah. I want you to then go and open up another account, another online savings account. Now, this is your saving to invest account. It's your financial goal account. Okay. And I want you to start putting as much money as you can afford to do into that account. And in the meantime, continue on educating yourself. Now, there are lots of different investments out there, and there are lots of different investment products out there. And I, obviously, this is a general conversation. I'm not giving you personal advice at all, but I know from our conversations you are interested and you've said you want to share a portfolio. So if that's something that really excites you and you know that shares are highly volatile, they're long-term investments, and you like the idea that it's not a property. You don't need to save up for 8-9 years for a deposit.
I think the property thing feels too far, and it feels too locked down, and I don't know how to decide, but I guess
we'll do a risk profile together and also work out where, you know, what the mix is, because it's not one or the other.
Right.
In fact, you can have property and you can have shares.
Yeah, okay.
And you can have shares and you can have some cash and you can have some fixed interest and you can have some international shares.
I would love to say that I have all those, like, just even the thought of like actually being able to comprehend what all that is, like, that feels so empowering.
But you can have this. You could literally have this by the end of the day if you wanted a share portfolio. If you can buy a pair of shoes online, you can buy shares online. Absolutely. But we need to make sure that before you go and buy shares online, that you know that you want them.
Okay.
And we do it the right way.
Yeah.
Now, if I just hone in on shares just for, I guess, educational purposes right now, not giving you, you know, personal advice or investment advice at all. But once you've got a certain amount saved up and you've done a risk profile and you go, yes, you know what, this is what I want. I like the idea of shares because I can buy shares straight away. I've only got to pay brokerage. And yes, you can use a
How do I know where to look? Because I know, like, my brother, he works for Google, so he's like, he has Apple, he has Google, he has like, tech, scary to me. Crypto's scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
Although my friend like became a millionaire from crypto. I'm like, well, how did you do that?
Wow.
And you're like, oh, it's volatile. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, you know.
Well, look, crypto is an episode in itself because it is a very complicated product.
And
It's not for everyone. Personally, it's not my jam. That doesn't mean I don't like it or recommend it.
Yeah.
It's just, for me, I'm very much a passive income investor. And I buy for the long run and I reinvest everything while I can. Because for me, my ultimate goal, which I've shared with everyone on this podcast channel, is to build a passive income of over $200,000 a year.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
you could live off that.
Yes, my family could live off that. So that represents for me security, independence, freedom, time, choice, even a little bit of luxury.
Yeah.
And all I focus on is building that number. I don't care about what my portfolio is worth. Now, crypto doesn't pay a passive income because it's purely growth. It's
you have to keep your money there.
Well, it's, you only make your money when you sell. So yes, I might have bought something for $1. It's now worth $2. But until I sell, I don't really have that money, and it's not paying me any income.
The
in the
dividends
meantime.
that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So so if you put in $5,000 and say it paid you 500, you have that money. But with crypto, it's locked away until you take all your investment out.
And then you've got to pay capital gains tax on selling it, and also you've got to make sure it's liquid. There's a lot to unpack, which is too much to cover today. But looking at shares, you can buy shares within seconds. So you can be a shareholder by the end of the day if you wanted. And there's no stamp duty like there is with a property. Okay. You can buy shares with as little as $500, sometimes even $5 if you look at the micro investing apps, which I'm not personally a fan of.
Okay, yeah, because I downloaded Raise. I don't know, just never knew.
So many people say that to me. They've downloaded like 5 of them.
It makes it feel so easy, like,
but then nothing done.
No one uses it.
It sits there and it gets a little bit of money, but then nothing's ever invested.
Yeah, okay.
You can buy shares with as little as $500, and I personally prefer to invest in parcels of $1,000, which is $1,000 because you pay your brokerage. It's a decent amount, so you're not eating away.
The fee that you pay to actually invest. Yeah.
Now, to anyone that says to me, I want to start investing, I don't know where to start, what to buy. And I say, well, okay, what are you thinking? And they're like, I just want lots of shares. I like the idea of earning dividends. I like the idea of having those dividends, having some tax credits. Yeah. I don't want to spend hours and hours all day picking and choosing which stock and what industry and how to buy and how much.
Totally.
And there's 2 very simple answers. You then look at listed investment companies and examples,
so like people who do it for you who know all that. Yeah,
so a listed investment company is essentially like walking into a supermarket and seeing a shopping basket with all of your groceries already ready to go.
Okay.
So you can, if you want, walk through the supermarket and go up and down all the aisles and, with your list and pick and find, and it's going to take you an hour to go through the supermarket and do all that. Or if you want, you can turn up to the supermarket and grab one of the pre-packed shopping trolleys and grab that and go. Now, you do have
pay money for that.
There's an ongoing fee within the product, and it's very cost effective. And actually interviewed one of the CEOs, Angus Glusky from Whitefield, which is one of Australia's oldest listed investment companies. It's been going for 100 years. And
incredible.
Their fee, I think, is around about 0.37. So
it's not a lot
not
of
much
what you make or what you invest.
It's of what you invest.
Yeah.
So if I invested $100,000 in Whitefield, and I cannot stress this is not investment advice at all, product advice, but I'm using an example. If you were, assuming that their fee is 0.37, for me to have Whitefield invest my money, make all those investment decisions, and also manage the tax side as well, because they're going to send me the statements.
Yeah.
I'm paying them $370 a year.
That's nothing. That's what I pay my accountant.
There you go. And they're doing everything for you. And your portfolio is immediately diversified. And you can jump on the Whitefield website. And there are other listed investment companies out there as well. Whitefield's just one of them. Yeah. But they will share what's inside the portfolio. And you will see, they don't share the whole entire portfolio because that's obviously their intellectual property. But they'll share the top 20% holdings. And you can actually see, okay, there are 80 different companies in this portfolio. So I'm going to be owning a little bit of Woolworths. I'm going to own a bit of Westpac Bank. I'm going to own a bit of Commonwealth Bank. I'm also going to own a bit of Telstra. And you can see it's actually your money is immediately diversified.
Right.
And if you want, you can just use those listed investment companies yourself, and that don't ever worry about making an investment decision or how and when to buy. Just continuously buy listed investment companies when you spend money.
Okay, so they make the decision.
Yeah, it's all
have
done
my
for
money.
you. And, you do need to do your research and you do need to understand what you're doing before you're doing it and understand obviously the costs involved because they do charge a fee and it's built into the investment and it comes out of the dividends. So you're not having to put your hand in your pocket like you are with an investment property.
Yeah.
But it is a great way of immediately diversifying your money. And also, if I had $100,000 and I went and picked my individual stocks, that's going to take me hours and hours and hours to decide. This to me seems a no-brainer.
Yeah, that is a no-brainer.
Delegation
so true.
of a very complicated decision.
Yeah.
And
I'm not qualified to make that, as we can see.
Exactly. And look, my interview with Peter Thornhill, like he is a self-made millionaire, multimillionaire.
Wow.
Started properly investing in his early 50s. And I have seen him myself.
Makes me feel so much better.
Thank you. See?
But can I ask you a question? Wait.
Yeah.
You finish about the stocks.
Well, I was going to say Peter Thornhill's portfolio is worth over $10 million. All he's done is save. And as soon as he's got that money saved up, he's then got invested in listed investment companies. He actually hasn't reinvested his dividends. He's taken them as money and then decided what to do with it, whether it be paying down debt or, but he's then, borrowed money as well along the way against his home. Like he's done different things.
Yeah,
but
okay.
essentially all he's done though, from a surface level, is just got money to invest. Don't spend it. Just go and buy more shares. He's
what you're
shopped
telling
for
me
shares
to do.
instead of shopping for stuff. And that passive income has grown and built over time. So what you could potentially do, and I'm talking about listed investment companies, you can also do the same with another version, which is exchange-traded funds.
Mm-hmm.
And look, exchange-traded funds also are equally valuable. They're very similar. They just have different tax structures because one's a trust structure and one's a company structure. But, an ETF actually allows you to diversify probably a little bit differently and in a more strategic way because you can buy ETFs that focus in, the Asian market or the US market or Europe or Australian high yield or...
Do you like to get that detailed about it in your investments or are you like...
So I would say 60% of my funds are in listed investment companies. I prefer the tax structure of a listed investment company over an ETF.
Yeah.
However, I use ETFs to access international investments because...
Oh, okay. If you think something's... good.
Yeah, so it's all very boring and we're talking like Vanguard ETFs. Which are even more cost effective, but the tax structure is, I think, very valuable. And the franking credits of the Australian share market, which are the tax credits, are really valuable.
Okay.
So particularly when you look at the passive income, because they can really boost your income. And typically, you've got these Australian shares, they grow in value and then they also provide an income. So if you are investing in companies, which is typically industrial shares, which are companies that produce goods and services, so people you deal with every day, the people that make this podcasting equipment, the shops that sell the bed linen and the towels that we use every day, those businesses, they pay an income, which is the dividend to you. And obviously some of that money is taken it's all taken from the profits. Some of the profits is used to put back into the business to take on new staff, to expand, to, keep on going, marketing and so forth. Whereas some of that money is paid as a profit to you through a dividend. So the power of shares over the long run, understanding all the risks that come with it, is that it pays you this money every single year and it's not coming out of the capital. So say, for example, I invest $100,000 tomorrow, assuming a 5% dividend yield, I'll get $5,000 income from that.
Immediately?
Not immediately, but it's paid 2 times throughout the year.
Wow. Okay.
And it comes with tax credits, which I won't go into today, but that $100,000 is still there, obviously, assuming that it hasn't had a market correction or pullback. In fact, it may have actually grown in value. Now that $100,000 is worth $103,000.
Yeah.
But then next year, I get my same 5% dividend yield, or maybe even a little bit more, or sometimes even a little bit less, because they can reasonably fluctuate.
Yeah.
But this is the power of a listed investment company because it's diversified. And I might get, say, now $5,400. So my passive income is growing. So what you could do is start buying listed investment companies or ETFs, subject within the boundaries of your risk profile and getting advice.
Yeah.
But reinvest all those dividends and add to that portfolio.
So don't take the passive income like when you start.
Yeah.
Keep putting it back.
Put it back in.
Because the passive income grows.
Yes, and you add to the compounding effect.
Yeah.
So you put that money back into the portfolio. You don't spend it. You put it in so that over the next 10 years, you can actually grow that income. And it gives you that $30,000 a year. Now, obviously, how quickly you want that $30,000 is going to boil down to you. What you put in, you'll get back out. So, you could do lots of different things to help maximize your opportunities to grow that in an efficient and effective way.
Yeah.
And, the $1,000 project is exactly an example
Love
of
that book. I did read a few pages and it really excited me. I never did anything about it, but I liked it.
But this is the block where I think a lot of people don't know where to get started.
Yeah.
So you just open up an online share trading account.
Yeah.
Which I can help you with.
Yeah.
And once you've got some money that you're comfortable investing in, say goodbye to this money.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
This is for my future.
Yeah.
I don't need this money back. I don't want this money back. I want this money to give me an income back.
Right.
A long-term income.
Yeah.
But then that continue on. It's very simple, like rinse and repeat.
Okay.
Save up some money that you're comfortable putting to this buy more shares.
Yeah.
And then those dividends continue to grow, over time, but also with you buying more shares because you're buying more income streams. It's getting bigger and bigger over time.
So it kind of has two ways of growth, me and itself.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Exactly. No, it's 100%. You're adding to the income. You're making the income grow because you're buying more shares all the time because you've got a budget.
Yeah.
And it's also growing because you are reinvesting. You're not spending that income. You're reinvesting. In fact, with some of the listed investment companies, you can set up an automatic dividend reinvestment plan where
you don't even touch it.
It doesn't even make it to your bank account. They just use it automatically. And the benefit of that is you're dollar cost averaging through a moving market that reduces risk, but also you're not paying brokerage along the way. And some listed investment companies and stocks or companies offer a discount if you're in a reinvestment plan where you'll get a discount to what the share price is. So say a share is trading at $9. If you're you're enrolled, I should say, in a dividend reinvestment plan, you get to buy that stock back in at a discount of, say, $8.90. So you're getting a little bit of a discount. You're buying the same thing, but at
the incentive to save more.
Yeah. And to keep going. So you've got to be careful with diversification if you're not doing this with listed investment companies because you may be purchasing more of one stock in comparison to others that aren't necessarily enrolled in a dividend reinvestment plan, which is again why listed investment companies and
you would
ETFs,
go the more structured option.
But you just keep doing that, and don't ever worry about what the share portfolio is worth if you're using a really well diversified portfolio by tools such as these. Focus on the income.
Those numbers I can barely deal with, like my own. I mean,
and that's perfect. So all you do is each year look at, okay, this year my portfolio paid me $1,000. My goal this year is to get that to $2,000 or $3,000, that passive income. And there are lots of things you can do along the way. And, this is, again, probably something to unpack another time, but things like including, gearing strategies, such as a margin loan or a regular gearing plan, where you can now borrow money, which comes with lots of risks, but risks that can be proactively managed in a smart, intelligent way. Again, to help amplify those opportunities.
Right.
Keeping in mind, obviously, it can amplify risk as well, but it's most of which are manageable. But these are things that can help speed up the process for you. And the $1,000 project is worth $285,000 today.
Do you mean that you've earned?
No, I haven't earned it. I've built it.
Oh, so this is your share portfolio. Like that's how much money is in that.
That's what it's worth today. I don't really care about what it's worth. What I care about is the passive income. And that pays me a passive income of over $16,000 a year without getting out of bed. My portfolio makes me $16,000 a year. Now, I've never taken a single dollar out of my savings or my base salary.
You have hustled that money.
I've hustled it.
Yeah.
I've manifested it.
Yeah.
Which I know you're open
Freaky.
to. But literally, and there is a small margin loan attached to it, which is slowly paying off.
Yeah.
But it's like $42,000 coming down all the time. So, it's, I guess, so it's not 100% cash flow positive, but that passive income is there. And, I started that project 8 years ago. For the last
8 years ago, and you have that.
I've built that over 8 years. But this is the funny thing. I've actually been really lazy over the last 4 years because I've had 2 kids.
Yeah.
We've moved house 3 times in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And I've just had a few things going on. So I haven't been able to commit as much as I was doing previously. So, in fact, it could be worth much more than that. But this is the beauty of the $1,000 project. It just works with you in what's going on in your life. You can slow down or you can go aggressively. And this is what you can do for you.
Yeah.
You can get started.
I'm at. It kind of leads into my last question, if I have
of course.
A second. Because, I'm looking at what I value. I'm a little bit of a health nut. So, I spend more on, section that people my age don't. I don't shop completely organic, but I
prioritize it
pretty well. Yeah. My mum would be mortified. I've got her voice in my mind. How do you reconcile? I need to hustle hard, clearly. I don't have an emergency backup etc. What we spoke about before.
Okay, you don't have an emergency backup yet.
Yes,
but you will.
I
You're going
will
to start working on it.
So how do I approach making justifications for the areas that I do want to live in? You know, even like applying some of the principles you teach about, like, okay, I want a capsule wardrobe because like that just does work better. That things like that where it's like more of the everyday side, because I'm loving like the big plan, but because also at 30, like, you know what you like.
Yeah.
So that's the harder thing about being older. Like, you're a little bit more stiffened in like, this is my routine and it's life-giving for me. And so I
get what you're
saying. Get okay with that.
Okay.
Because I know I could spend, I don't know, maybe like $300. I don't know. Like, I actually don't know how much. And I'm a bit scared of thinking about it.
Okay, well, we'll do it together so it happens.
Okay, yeah.
Our budget, that is.
Happening is the most important part.
But, okay, so to answer your question is you don't need to justify anything. You need to be true and authentic and honest to yourself.
Because I feel like being true and authentic and honest got me chewing through 90 grand. Do you know what I mean?
No, but I don't think it did because, you know, you talked about the real and capsule wardrobe clothes. That wasn't authentic and genuine to you. Your face lit up when you spoke to me about the water filter. And you still have that today, but you don't have your capsule wardrobe. But you don't have your capsule wardrobe. So your value system is health.
Yeah, 100%.
And in the investment of yourself.
Yeah.
That must stay. Health is wealth.
Yeah.
So that has got to stay. But where it can get a bit wobbly and be dangerous to your financial well-being is when you've got too much going on. You need to find a safe balance where you go, okay, for me, I value spending on supplements, for example. But because I value spending on supplements, it means I can't overindulge in a new pair of shoes every 4 months or 1 month or whatever it may be. It means you can have it all, but not necessarily at the same time.
Yeah.
So you have to have those boundaries in place where you go, okay, that's what makes my heart sing. That's what fills my cup.
Yeah.
So anything out there actually is not something that I value. So why would I want to be disrespectful to how hard I'm working, the journey and path that I'm on right now, and how I'm trying to build my life going forward by blowing money on things that I actually don't serve me and serve my heart in the right type of way. So it's really an awareness. So an element of mindfulness where you go, okay, you catch yourself buying something and you have to say, hang on, would I prefer this $100 in my emergency fund account, or would I prefer this $100 to be able to buy another parcel of shares and watch my passive income grow? Or would I like to put this $100 on my feet and buy that pair of shoes? Now, just that question itself, it gives you that perspective. You go, hang on, is this a good idea? When I've asked myself that, actually, I'd feel much better knowing that money is going to buy some more shares. Or there are times where I'm like, no, I really like this. This is a really good buy, and I know I'm going to wear this and use this, and I appreciate it, and I love it. So I'm going to buy it. But it's just about balance and knowing what makes you feel good, and understand that buying shares makes you feel really good.
I'm going to have to experience that little...
I think you'll find the dopamine hit for buying shares is just as good as buying supplements.
Okay, I'm going to have to try it.
Because especially when you get your first dividend check or dividend notification.
Yeah, that's going to be wild.
And you see that you've got, 350 units in listed company XYZ, and now because they've just announced a dividend, you've now got 365
I can feel
units. Like that's shopping for shares.
So basically you're saying create awareness by asking yourself, because I'm working on building back trust with myself. I wonder if I can trust myself on the leaks, but I don't know if I can really outsource those decisions, because it's only been through trial and error that I've really come to realize, my health is the number one. And I do get joy. You're right. I get so much joy out of it. Even sometimes if I'm asking myself the question, well, Brydie, would you rather a pair of shoes or in shares? I don't know that I can really delay the gratification. I'm scared that
But that's because you've never experienced shares yet. You've never experienced having emergency money yet. You don't have that point of comparison yet because you haven't experienced it.
Okay.
Once you have your emergency money saved up, you'll be so protective of it because you'll know how hard it has been to build that money and how long it's taken and what you've had to learn along the way. And you will learn so much about yourself as you build that money up.
So doing will change me.
100%.
Okay.
And then when you buy your shares, you will have the biggest smile on your face. You will feel so proud. And then
I give it away all the way to orphans.
Okay, so this is one thing even better. This is the power of passive income, particularly from, two-dimensional assets like shares.
Yeah.
Imagine this income, this $30,000 a year passive income compounds and grows over time. It's, $30,000 a year, 31.5, and then 33.5, and then 35.5, and 39, and 43, and it gets bigger and bigger.
You just watch it.
Imagine when you eventually one day, as we all will pass away, you hand that share portfolio over to a charity, and that money goes 100% to helping families in Tijuana rebuild their lives. This is what you can do. There is nothing stopping you. You just need to get started.
So good.
You write down and make peace with yourself. And I don't think you need to spend too much time. I know, I can see. But you write down, you make peace with your past. It is not serving you to keep your head looking backwards. You need to look forwards. And you replace those thoughts of the past with what you were doing now and what you were doing in the future. When you catch yourself feeling guilty about maybe thinking, which I don't think you did,
it's actually a really good tool.
You go, okay, well, I'm building a share portfolio. Replace those thoughts with what you were doing to fix it, the solutions.
Who knew that doing would actually...
Well, doing is how we, trump anxiety as well. If we're anxious, sometimes doing something helps subside the anxiety. But not that I'm an expert in that area at all. But, think about, okay, yes, I did that, but I am now going forward. I'm buying shares. I'm building shares. I'm building a passive income that eventually one day will go to charity. I am building up emergency money. The moment you've got that emergency money sorted, and the moment you've bought your first parcel of shares, you now know what it feels like to have that money, have that peace of mind, have that comfort. You will know how easy it is and how rewarding and empowering it is to have, say, you own shares and have a share portfolio, and you're focusing your energy on building that share portfolio, and that you earn a passive income, a growing passive income. That's when you have that comparison to go, do I really want to buy that new t-shirt or that top? Actually, no, I want more shares. I want more passive income.
Okay.
But you're trying to give yourself a point of comparison without experiencing it.
Okay.
So let's get there.
You need to experience it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The saving of emergency money is a great start.
Okay.
So get started there.
We will. We will. We need to.
All right. This wraps up today's episode of Start Here. Let me know what you think about this series, whether you'd like to hear more from me, or whether you'd like to